Just like my dermatologist that just gave me any grammage or milligrammage of Roaccutane until I was vomiting for 2 weeks. Once I finally saw a proper dermatologist, I realized the issue was not Roaccutane but the dosage. That dude just put me on hard drugs when I was supposed to start light and mild. I nearly died. I threw away that Roaccutane and told myself it's fine, I'll deal with the acne, or I'll take this thing forever. I'll take Diane 25. I'll keep on the contraceptive pill to make sure that my skin is clear. And then I saw an excellent dermatologist a couple of years down the line, and he gave me the same prescription. I thought I was gonna vomit, but no, I didn't vomit. I wasn't sick for 2 weeks straight. I was healthy, wealthy, and wise. And I realized that lazy doctors can kill some people. And witch doctors are lazy doctors. They be out here giving you a diagnosis with witchcraft for everything. They be out here making you inhale a sniff for everything. They be out here causing you to imagine that everything that is going wrong in your life, falling apart, has of course got to do with the fact that you are blocked because you are not acknowledging your ancestors. They just keep on diagnosing everything with this nasty stuff. Karabo, because Karabo this, Karabo that. Your stuff is blocked because of it. Shut up. Like, listen, life happens. It's written in God's word. I believe is it in Ecclesiastes or in the Song of Solomon. It is somewhere in the Solomonic books that life in it there is adversity. Man is made for adversity. That's God's word. So you will go through nonsense. Life will be nonsensical. If you're a human being at all, more so even when you come to Christ, because then the world is going to hate you. Take heart, I've overcome the world, and in this world you're going to have much trouble. This world is full of rubbish. Human beings, you fell at the garden. And so for those reasons, you're not going to have an easy time. It's not going to be easy as pie. Everything is going to suck. Well, not everything, but a lot.
Crazy guy or a crazy woman. Because of this, South Africans have left me out on the limb. Basically, period.
Yeah, I'm complaining literally everywhere, okay? Yeah, they be telling you the smallest little issue. When you fail a subject at school, oh, what? Like, no, I didn't study. When you don't get accepted into university, oh, no, it was a quota and it was a rabbit out of a hat that they pulled a lottery and my name didn't come up. You don't get a job after being unemployed for 2 years. Oh, no, there was a better candidate. Oh, no, I did. When you get acne, they be like, oh, no, it's hormones. I am really very exceptionally stressed out. So, of course, I'm going to flare up with some hives on my face. But no, something. I got to acknowledge I'm my ancestor. No, it's okay. I'm not going to run with a Tikoloshi Archer for a god purely because of the fact that I just got a pimple on my face. Or I got rejected from a university or 3 universities when I applied. Or I didn't get 3 jobs out of 3 interviews that I worked really hard for. Or. No. Man is made for adversity. Those are the scriptures. And more so, are you going to have an adversarial experience on the earth? More so. When you're born again in the Lord Jesus Christ, the world is going to hate you. And then there's going to be ominous stuff going on because the world that hates disciples is going to be demon possessed. You are Job, an excellent man in fortitude and surviving a very hostile planet to the gospel. You're in a space suit just like an astronaut, and yours is to realize that this here is not your home. You're sojourning. You're going somewhere else. Yeah, I'm done with South Africa. I'm done with everything. You are sojourning and you will arrive healthy, wealthy, and wise on the other side. And God is going to tell you, well done, my good and faithful servant. You have kept the good, you have fought the good fight, you have run the race, and you have kept the faith. But no, according to this lazy doctor, until you are a witch full-time, until you are fluffing black plumage like a crow for a lifestyle, until you be out here flying on a broom because you think you're Aladdin on a magic carpet. So I gotta go and tiba everyone else because Kimolwe now. Look at me go. Okay, whatever. Do you bugaboo? You make me wanna throw my pager out the window, sell my house so I can move because you a bugaboo. Whatever. Do you? Satan. Except God said that in this world you're gonna have this trouble. The world hates disciples. The day is coming when those who kill you will do so thinking they're doing a service to God. He told me that they are going to hurt me and some of us even unto death. The Lord said that that's a thing. But no. Anyway, so this lady that got an artificial intelligence reading was told by a lazy doctor that she's dying, or she's frankly, like, if she doesn't get her act together, she's gonna die. And then a cardiologist corrected all that stuff. Your witch doctors do stuff of that nature, and so people don't seek the Lord's face. And because mankind hates delayed gratification, you want things now and fast, you are quick to run to the sangoma when man is made for adversity. I can't. Like this, my whole country literally just defaults to witchcraft. As soon as the smallest little glitch and twitch and smallest little sneeze comes into their space, no more striving, no more long suffering, no more fortitude, no more forbearance, no more taking anything in one's stride, no more jack. You are just consulting sangomas for everything. Everything. Not taking into consideration that the country has got millions of people in it, so some people are going to win above you, but one day you might just win that particular opportunity. But you know, that's just the thing. Sometimes because your best friend is a witch. because your mom is a witch, because your dad is a witch, because your lecturer a witch. But when a witch is all up in your grill, again, you don't run to a lazy physician, you run to Jesus Christ. You do not run to a lazy physician, you run to Jesus Christ. You say, God, the weapons of my warfare are not carnal, but are mighty in God for the pulling down of strongholds. Help me bring them down, these structures that are coming up against me. And so you enter into spiritual war on your knees. You enter into spiritual war in praise and in worship with tears and snot and trana. You enter into spiritual war, not into a mental illness, not into psychosis, not into a zombie apocalypse, not into the Walking Dead, not into seeing as they took from me, I must take from them, so I'm going to do a wealth transfer, not into I am jealous of my friend that got an opportunity and not me, and so I'm going to bewitch her so she can fall apart from her career, not into I am going to take another woman's womb because I cannot have a baby, not into that trash, okay? But you chose that trash and you thought that it could give somehow? You imagine that there was no God out to dealing you a bad blow for that trash. And now today when somebody is sitting perched like a bird on a rooftop, saying Jesus is the way and the only way, now you're trying to kill me because you all fell apart under that. You followed in groupthink in a trance, mindless drones, like zombies. You then look at me being vivacious with a pink in my cheek, health, a bounce in my step, floating around like I am a leaf on a river. And you're like, I'm sorry, Karabo, we all became zombies. Who do you think you are? Like, verbatim spoken from the words from the mouth of the woman at YouTube. The psychopathic crow with black plumage called Madimadi at YouTube. Her rationale or her reasoning behind why she has closed me behind firewalls, why she has used her moderating powers to bury me in such a closed off channel that nobody can see me, is because apparently and I'm gonna think I'm better than everybody. My response to her was, if I say born girl, then who is going to do it? Because God insists upon self-examination, so yeah, you're right. And secondly, I am better than you because after all, you are a crow sporting black plumage. Everybody is better than so. I don't deny that I'm better and that I gotta examine myself, but apparently, according to South Africa, I deserve to therefore have no life at all, and so therefore die under medical assistance in dying. Mate, I deserve to be euthanized because the Lord says that He has come here to give life and life abundantly. If at all me thinking I'm more special, spectacular, and important is the reason why murder is suddenly justified, if that's a thing, then on that day you are officially a barbaric society, giving Neanderthals, much like the ones that Notabaloyi keeps on describing as white people. Yeah, it appears all of y'all are rather than Neanderthals on this day. And on top of that, in your barbarism, there are no laws, there are no rules. You're like an ancient civilization where there are not yet recriminations for murder. Yeah. You know how in ancient societies, people just out here be hacking people's heads off and nobody be out here facing a jail cell. Nobody's in a bar or whatever. It's like that in South Africa now. It's like we're back again to ancient civilizations. I like to compare them to the one in the movie Apocalypto. If you've seen the movie Apocalypto, there is a crazy little barbaric ancient civilization over there that's chopping people's heads off and then rolling them down a steep staircase, and they all just land in a pit of more beheadings down below. And then they ululate and at the sun, because that's what they worship. Yeah. Ancient civilizations were exceptionally barbaric. There were no laws, and certain practices were just strangely just allowed. Molech had hot hands to receive die babies. It is no wonder then Hamas was able to put a baby in an oven, because that was an offer to Molech, wasn't it? Yeah, like a statue, a graven image of a god whose hands were super hot to receive infants. And you just burn a baby. Yeah, that's what's giving. That stuff is barbaric. Today, there is no country that can easily practice such rituals in broad daylight with cameras rolling and everything and not have all of our countries come at them. There are rules, there are laws. You can't just be that barbaric, but it's taken time for civilizations to come and go, to rise up, for laws to be put in place that you can't just kill babies, except of course, if they're in your stomach. Now you are hiding them inside your bun, inside your ovens, in your bellies, and so that is okay to just incinerate a baby from inside. Yeah. But the ones that are outside, yeah, now you can't be putting them in an oven. Now you can't be putting them in an oven unless you're Hamas. The ones like Kemosh. So the Molech ones were inside the hot hands of a graven image, and then the Kemoshic ones were just made to, in a very trance-like state, after being prepped for a season, they were made to literally just walk into just an inferno, a furnace. And as these children were screaming and crying because they were burning, everybody would be ululating. So you can't hear the person crying, the child. basically died from being incinerated. That's what happened in ancient civilizations. God hated them. You make your children walk through the fire. You sacrifice your children to demon gods. Israel at some point was doing that. But then we became in their idolatry, in their rebellion, in their idolatry. Yeah. But then fast forward a couple of a few moments later, a couple of centuries later, now laws in countries are such that you can't literally barbarically just commit public murder like that. What are you doing? Unless, of course, like I said, you're Hamas after killing Palestinians in Gaza in front of everybody, just killing them to make out of them an example. Stuff like that happens in Islam all the time, but you'll never find it in more civilized societies. There's a lot of old school barbarism in Islam. A lot of it. And yet you are trying to give them a whole state. What are you doing? From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free to Algeria be burning babies in an oven and killing their own citizens because they are suspected of of treason. They're suspected of treason. Public killings with ululating people used as example. Yeah. Okay. Without even a trial. Yeah, that's what's giving. So seeing as that's what witchy religions, that's what ancient civilizations were like. You are regressed, you are backward, you are devolved when you go back to ancient practices, and as a concert, as a nation, you ululate to the sun in a frenzy and a trance. All the laws in your countries and all the realizations that this here is a barbaric act, we can't continue, you have completely regressed from it. You are now like the ancient civilization in the movie Apocalypto, who frenzied by sun worship, actually ululated upon watching people getting beheaded and then their heads being rolled down a steep staircase. Go watch that movie, it'll give you shivers. And in my nation now, you are watching for sport in broad daylight people getting killed. Another example, ancient Rome. You will remember how Nero made for sport the killing of Christians in the Colosseum. Never mind Christians, the killing of Christians in the Colosseum. Gladiators out here be fighting unto death, the Hunger Games. That whole model coming from what used to happen in ancient civilization, where people watch people fight each other unto death. Such barbarism just would not fall in any of our countries anymore. Not today, not without people closing doors, not without people trying to satiate that fetish by doing it in an underground space that if the police were to break down into that environment, it would be very taboo. The celebrities attending this event, very taboo. The heads of state that have got a fetish to watch people literally fight unto death underground. Yeah, but it used to be done in an entire open coliseum. And because of mankind regressing from civilized ways of running countries, in the Antichrist rule, in the millennial reign, not millennial reign, but in the tribulation, open martyrdom of saints is going to happen in front of ululating people that feel entitled to worship their raw god, their sun god, their whatever, just the Antichrist guy. If anything, their raw god is not going to be liked very much by the Antichrist, any other kind of god, because the guy is going to exalt himself above everything that so calls itself God. So the Antichrist won't even like Pharaoh. He won't like Ra God. He won't like sun worship. He just won't like him worship. And in so worshiping him, you will literally ululate when people are being beheaded. It's going to be sport for you all over again. Look at you being in the Colosseum under Nero's rule all over again. That's how much the human being regresses to naught and ash when they abandon Jesus Christ in their countries. When you walk away from Christ, all the strides you made, all the traction you covered, all the ground you covered, you lose it. So South Africa, you want to reintroduce your roots, your ancestral worship. You want to bring it back. Do you and revert back then, because you're already there. You're 5'2", to an ancient civilization so barbaric that it out here is burning babies in ovens in front of everybody while they ululate. It's killing women in broad daylight. It's letting a woman be unemployed and have nothing, go nowhere, do nothing for 10 years. Some entitled little freaky plumaged like crow at YouTube thoroughly imagines that Nike Grey Borna, if I'm set free. Somebody is holding me hostage watching a woman die. A couple of somebodies. And then there are of course men who feel entitled saying, but you don't gotta die. Insofar as you take me, that same man of which literally smells because he's got an unhealed STD that he cannot heal from because he keeps on doing sex rituals to transfer wealth to himself from women. And so his little syphilis and chlamydia and clap, all these STDs and his HIV, none of it can heal. None of it can ever recover. He can never ever even be undetectable. He can never ever get to a point where he's even undetectable on his HIV test because he's taking his meds and he's been a good boy and he's eating all these apples. He can't even get there because he has to keep on doing satanic rituals to maintain his wealth. The guy is a billionaire. You don't need more. But if he doesn't keep sleeping with stupid little slay queens that are ignoring that there is a stench coming from his nether region, he loses, I don't know, what he feels to be like clout and power. That same merciless baboon, that's an even bigger crow than this nasty little nasty at YouTube. Thinks the day's gonna come and I'm heavily pregnant and a Stepford wife in a mansion that he's given me. A mansion that he's given me. But I'm gonna let myself go and get fertilized by a man who is already a hybrid. I mean, when you are watching a pure woman consecrated to the Lord face those kinds of threats, and then you're like, alright, Mara, it's a necessary evil. The rest of us done did something to get ahead. Honey, You are the ancient civilization in the movie Apocalypto. You're watching a person getting beheaded, and in broad daylight you are ululating as their heads are rolled down a steep staircase as the sun rises and sets, and as you see an eclipse. You're barbaric. It's clear. Just the fact that people could glide right by every single day with me being nowhere to be found, like I vanished from society. I disappeared, and nobody's asking questions, or if they're asked, there is an awkwardness, but nobody is trying to address the awkwardness. Where is Karabo? Oh no, listen, she is an unspoken taboo. We don't talk about that in these streets. It's a byword. Please don't mention it. While a person is getting murdered in front of a frenzied crowd in a trance. This is South Africa. Yeah. You are a satanic country. If at all you weren't, I wouldn't be in this position. People in this country have left me to die, and they have imagined that this here is a necessary evil. Ganja. Must every woman end up a Stepford wife? Must every man marry a whore? Must every woman accept ukuleswa in a relationship? And must every person unprepared to acknowledge ancestors then, I guess, die? I mean, if that's a thing, those were punishments for idolatry in ancient civilizations. Kill me and see if my God won't rescue me. Do what you want and see if my king is not gonna come through for me. Hey guys, yes, and this country's eerie. Alright, this country is creepy, and why nobody sees how creepy it is just beyond me. Your president is what did Donald Trump say at the UN address meeting that he had recently? He said all of you are going to hell. Like, yeah, Trump's like, he says stuff like that. He said everybody that out here is standing against Israel is going to hell, and he's right. Your countries are going to hell. But Cyril Ramaphosa condemned Israel again and again and again, and I'm like, what makes you think, oh, South Africa, that when your head of state, your nation's leader, your president, is standing perched like a bird on a mountaintop cursing Israel, what makes you think that you're going to be absolved, eradicated from the reality, therefore, of suffocating under Zechariah 12? But that's just the thing, right? You don't even believe that Zechariah 12 is a thing, because you don't believe in the Bible. Biblical Christianity is not a thing for you. Like, you think that it's a myth or just an alternative spirituality that you can afford to malign. This here Christianity, you think that's a thing. But I'm telling you right now, it's not a thing. So your president that out here condemned Israel and keeps condemning Israel, it is thanks to your crazy leader that you even sent Israel to the ICJ for international crimes for genocide in Gaza. Yeah, he doubled down. So our country is anti-Israel, pro-Palestine, because not every country that's anti-Israel is necessarily pro-Palestine, so it's necessary to highlight that. They just don't like Israel, but they don't care what goes on with Palestinians, right? Anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian, is standing with nations that are all enemies of the cross. China, Russia, Iran, those are its allies. Is at odds with nations that love God. The US is persecuting its citizens on the ground, is trying to decolonize its country to a point of introducing pagan worship in a country that used to call itself Christian. So it is a divorcement from Christian Judeo South Africa. So an apostasy, essentially. A president that has declared up an apostasy in our own land. And you think that you're not going to suffocate under, never mind the beleaguerments under Zechariah 12, where all who would heave it away will be surely cut into pieces. Right next to whatever happens to a country that abandons its first love. Whatever happens to a country that abandons its first love. So first you are at enmity with Israel, and then over and above being at enmity with Israel, you are a friend with all the enemies of God. And then in your own country, you are deconstructing Christianity. I told you, this nation is going to cease to be a country in the millennial reign of the Lord Jesus Christ. But before then, there's going to be a mass exodus, a diaspora littered up across the world, where you're going to lose your biggest and baddest mind. In my last video, I lamented and spoke about how it is that when I was at Cradlestone Mall and it was empty on a Sunday afternoon, a time when usually malls are out here bustling. Sunday afternoon, listen, around payday. It's only the 1st of October now. People can't even afford to buy anything from your malls. That they're even standing, I don't know how. Shelves are gonna start getting empty. When I was growing up, there is the supermarket that we grew up buying stuff from called Stiles. Daddy Soweto. Stiles supermarket. Stiles. It was a supermarket, and from the time that I was very young up until maybe the age of, I don't know, 8 or 9, maybe 10, stand corrected, it was quite thriving. It was okay. Like, it was just like, yeah, shelves bustling. But then it hit hard times, based on what I don't know, because everybody was still buying from there. People still had need. There wasn't a recession in the country, yeah, but it hit hard times, and you knew that it hit hard times because we started going to Ziles and the shelves were empty. Where there used to be stacks of loaves of bread, there would only be like 4 or 5 loaves. Where there used to be stacks of bags of rice, there would only be 4 or 5 bags. Some shelves had no product altogether. And this started incrementally, where initially it was just certain products that were missing, but then it started being entire lines going, like entire, what do you call this? Product lines disappearing. And never mind product lines, but what I wanted to say was type of product. Like, as in, no longer are they even selling Iwisa flour, only Lucky Star. Yeah, stuff like that started to happen. And then it got to a point where they were no longer selling flour, not flour, but maize meal. And then it got to a point where they were not selling maize meal at all. Like, no maize meal. Never mind Lucky Star, never mind Iwisa, just nothing. Yo, guys, it was bad. There were less and less chocolates, less and less lollipops, less and less it tried to resuscitate itself, but listen, it didn't come back up again. The last supermarket, well, it died off eventually, and I believe it did get bought over. I don't know what's going on in that particular region today. I think there's still some kind of a supermarket, but it was bought out, and then somebody else basically took that spot over, and then the shelves were restocked. When famine comes on your land, it starts like that incrementally, but it tends to happen because of socio-economic and socio-political issues in that ecosystem. Lack of loyalty, sabotage, corruption. That even though there's more than enough people to keep on buying your product, for some strange reason, your margins are dwindling. Your profit margins, for some strange reason, you're barely breaking even. For some strange reason, now you're at a loss. For some strange reason, even though you've got as many people in the city to buy your bread, but you are still closing shop. How are you closing shop when you've still got the same number of people that have got a demand for your product? You should be on bumper profits, or at least maintained in whatever profit margin you were earning at a certain point. When all things equal, nothing changes except for your profit margins, then on that day there is something called sabotage, shrinkage, corruption. You know that inside out you are being eaten away at like a tapeworm. There is a parasite inside your bones because demand is still there for your product. The people still have jobs. The economy is not in a slump, but you are dying anyway. This was South Africa at the time when I lost my job in 2014. Today, your shelves are getting empty. Cradlestone Mall ain't got no customers on a Sunday afternoon after church. Malls like those were bustle, especially around payday and especially on weekends, in spite of it being a Sunday. But it was empty like it was Christmas afternoon, because shops tend to close on Christmas. Nobody shows on Christmas Eve, bursting at the seams. But on Christmas Day, ghost town in the streets, and so ghost mall. Only one little restaurant open, and even then only up until 3 p.m. Cradlestone Mall was like that. It was a sight for sore eyes. I couldn't believe it. It wasn't a public holiday, nothing at all that could I explain for what is going on. Yeah, but you see, things get to that point eventually. When you keep on ripping the best of your people from the economy, what are you doing? You did it to yourselves, okay? You listen, you did it. You did it to yourselves. If at all, like I said, all things equal, everything else is maintained in a bunch, and yet something is still shrinking. You need to look at sabotage. In South Africa, you self-sabotaged because of your witchcraft, because of your entitlement, because of your lack of a sense of camaraderie, because of your individualism, because of the fact that you could not look at the bigger picture, because of the fact that you could not have your brother's back. But you see, what in the world makes you have the back of your fellow man? If you have got an ideology, a religious ideology that insists that you have the back of your fellow man. Christianity is all about one anothering. We are implored by the scriptures, by Jesus, by the Bible, that love your neighbor as you love yourself, love one another. By this men will know that you're my disciples, love one another. If what is this? The Bible also says that a man must provide for his household, for his family, especially members of his own household. Otherwise, he is worse than an infidel and is denied the faith. So camaraderie, each othering, one anothering, it's a Christian principle, and if we're a Christian country, we should be fine, right as rain, because we are having the backs of our fellow man. This is a Christian principle. When I was hungry, you gave me food. Oh, thank you, Jesus. When I was naked, you gave me clothes. Oh, thank you, Jesus. I was getting kind of nippy. It was getting kind of nippy. I was cold. When I was sick and in prison, you visited me. Oh, look at me. I was besukad by a friend when I was in jail, Hlongwane. When I was cold out in the rain, you gave me hospitality. You let me come inside your house. Oh, look at that. And when I was thirsty, you gave me drink. Listen, I was parched, but you came through for me. God, when did I not do all this for you? Oh, when did I do all this for you? Oh, don't worry, you helped Karabo. You sheltered my daughter in a most heinous season, and she got to live to tell the story because people were trying to kill her undermaid. Ah, well, thank you, Jesus. And then you receive a crown of life, a crown of righteousness. Christianity insists that you feed your brothers when they're hungry, give them water when they're thirsty, give them clothes when they're naked, invite them in when they need hospitality, and visit them besuk when they're in prison and when they're sick. And so if your nation is built on Christian Judeo principles, it'll stay alive because it's one anothering. So it won't self-sabotage. It won't insist on stealing people's jobs. It won't bewitch people out of prosperity. It won't, in the spirit of jealousy, make sure that nobody breeds. And so being Christian about it, a nation thrives, and Celeste supermarket keeps on getting customers, and so it doesn't die off. There is no shrinkage. Christianity says don't steal. So, staff working at the Celeste is not going to be out here causing sugar to disappear. It won't grow legs. It'll just stay put on the counter when you instill Christian Judeo principles. I grew up praying in schools. I grew up singing hymns in schools, even government schools. And I grew up being spanked for bad behavior. And now everything goes. Now it's every man for himself. And now people in the spirit of, listen, I gotta get mine, they are in a horrible state of anarchy. They are in the purge. the movie The Purge. They're doing whatever they want to do. And they don't have camaraderie, they don't have a sense of one anothering, and they're not feeding people when they're hungry. They are not clothing people when they're naked. They're not giving people water when they're thirsty. They're not visiting them in prison and when they're sick. And they're also not giving them hospitality when they are out on a limb. Then in South Africa, you will say to God, when did I not do these things for you to a point of closing down Cradlestone Mall? You didn't do this for Karabo, Pinky, Lerato, Jabu, Tamba, Cassandra, Peter, Paul, or Bart. So you didn't do it for me. Listen, you ignored your whole country's needs. You also had a beautiful constitution, a beautiful law that you refused to honor. You fired a woman without cause. And then after firing her, refused her UIF, refused her shares, and then after that you sabotaged and black marketed the living daylights out of her so she couldn't get another job. You made sure that she's blacklisted everywhere, and then you left her to be put on the credit bureau, and now no one will even look at her to hire her, even though she's one of the most brilliant minds South Africa has ever produced. Oh snap, sure, didn't see that coming. Yeah, okay, you live in a silo, that's why. You live in a little vacuum, that's why. You live in a little dystopian individualistic nightmare. That's why you weren't able to see the ramifications, the consequences of your grander actions. You were not able to see the web that you are weaving in your unique individual selfishness. You took a wife that didn't belong to you, Korobela. She doesn't like you, but who cares? And then you create women who are suffering from postpartum depression because they've got deadbeat husbands, and now you've got kids being raised by a mother that is very, very apathetic, nonchalant, blasé, aloof, removed. Now unloved children produce for, I don't know what's going on in schools exactly with sword killers. What's happening in schools exactly with children out here fighting teachers with their fists? When you don't have discipline in the household, and when kids are just generally neglected by parents, they become delinquents, they go awry. They do whatever they want in their own eyes. They're loose cannons. When the family is not honored, respected, regarded, and people are out here divorcing all over the show, kids go awry and then they beat up teachers in schools, and then when your law in your country spares the child the rod, and so you give children such wide sweeping rights to do whatever they want to do. They be out to disrespecting the living daylights out of teachers in schools, and they can't even get kicked out of class for disturbing the peace. But the same kid can actually handle a teacher in the school. The teacher can't retaliate, otherwise that teacher will lose their job. So you basically have kids walking all over the heads of teachers. Until people die in schools, until kids stab each other on school playgrounds. Kids be twerking it up a storm in concerts at school. Licentious activity on school theatrical platforms, not being rebuked by teachers. I remember when I was in, was it Mayfair Convent? No, it wasn't even Mayfair Convent. It was Sir John Adamson. High school, first year, freshman. Standard 6, grade 8. On my first day of school, first day as a grade 8 student, we had prefects, matriculants, rocking up, and they didn't care about what our parents said, because this is the rule of the school. They rocked up with razors, do you understand? On the tunics, on the skirts of girls that were much too short. The skirts of girls that were much too short. And they rocked out, our skirts were pleated, and they grabbed razors that they were given by the principal upon identifying you in a queue, and they started to they basically cut. They you know how a pleat, our school skirts, they are folded underneath, and then there's a hem stitch to basically just kind of put it together. They cut them to unfold them to make them longer so they could get to the knees. Listen, grade 8 students have got brand spanking new uniforms. They went to buy them just last week. It's their first year of high school with a new school uniform. What teacher, what mother, or father is not going to be mad on some, I just bought my child a skirt, and then you rip it? No parent came to school and complained. No parent wrote up and said, you ruined my child's skirt. They ate my guns, so skirt geruined. Or since I get to no, parents were like, when I know it's I didn't buy you such a short little skirt at the store. You did that to your own, like, cancerous skirt. They literally grabbed a razor and they cut our skirts until they went down to our knees. Because you don't get to rock up here in this high school and show everybody your thunder thighs. Well, that standard dwindled as I went to grade 8, to grade 9 and 10 in matric. No longer were they actually insistent that our skirts not be that short, because of course people were getting diabolical as the years were progressing, but essentially how immodest and short some of our skirts was so unacceptable in grade 8 that they literally they unstitched our skirts to make them long enough to be on our knees, so we don't, I guess, stumble the whole entire high school with all of our thunder thighs. That is how much schools would not take in their stride immodesty. That's literally how much. When I was in Mayfair Convent primary school this time around, my friend and I made a decision to model our underwear. After school, thinking we're doing stuff in private, one silly little boy, Gabriel, I'ma call you out, Mansha, found us doing this ominous activity. We were like, I snap, a boy saw our panties. We thought he'd let it go. This boy saw us and he was like, ah! And then ran away. Lo and behold, the next day in assembly, no, we weren't called to the principal's office in private, and so had our rights respected. In assembly, they made us stand on stage My girl can vouch for this. She remembers this fateful day, even though she betrayed the living daylights out of me. We were told to stand on the stage. We were called Karabo, Hlongwane, and ABC. Please come to the front. Okay, so it was a white lady. Karabo, Hlongwane, and ABC. Get up on stage. Ooh. Karabo stands up and her girl. We go on stage, and then they blast our dirty laundry in front of everybody, speaking about how it is that we be out here naked. It was a Catholic school. We be out here parading our panties, and so our principal, Sister Colleen, was like, fine, do a panty parade on the stage. Panty parade, panty parade. Do a panty parade, because you are doing a panty parade outside, showing everybody, showing the boys your underwear, so do it in front of everybody. We were so humiliated. We were so embarrassed. Of course we didn't do a panty parade in assembly. It was reverse psychology. We got that as kids. We didn't panty parade in front of the school. The principal showed us that you don't get to be out just showing us all of your thunderpass and all of your nudity in school, especially not in a Catholic school. Yeah, that was primary school. Those were schools back then. They be humiliating you with your panty parade in front of all of assembly until you get teased for your pink panties. In high school, they ripped our hems, the hems of our skirts, to make our skirts longer. Now, kids are twerking in talent shows at school. Yeah, I mean, that's a combination of a panty parade and a short skirt. Take your country. But what in the world under heaven inspired rebuke for the panty parade? And what in the world also inspired ripping down our skirts until they were at our knees? Christian, Judeo principles in the school wear in the morning. We went into assembly and sang hymns. Whether or not we were born again as children was irrelevant. Bottom line was, this is a Christian country, and we sing hymns in assembly. And our girls are going to be modest. Hair is going to be neat. This is going to be that. This is going to be the other. You don't get to do whatever you want to do. They're based on Christian Judeo laws. Women be modest. Girls don't panty parade. Okay, so that's not in the scriptures, but I mean, I'm pretty sure it's implied. That's what under heaven goes on over there. Yeah, but now we are run by ancestors that don't care that you are jiggling your booty everywhere, especially considering within black culture, many of the black cultures, like tribes, Zulu especially, maybe even Tswana, women be out there roaming around with their breasts out. It's very immodest. That's what I'm getting at. Barely any clothes on, because it is a culture that proliferates the licentious covetousness of women's bodies by men. There is no respect, no honor for women and their virtue. So their boobs must be out. That's how everybody knows they're fertile. Their butts must be out. That's how everybody knows they're fertile. So in reed dances, a Mr. Swati or even a Mr. Zulu, where they are just there prancing in front of a king, they gotta be naked, their breasts are gotta be out, and their buttocks practically showing, their thighs everywhere, their whole bodies, immodesty. Their entire bodies must be out in order for them to be apparently allegedly viable for a man to consider her fertile and worth the while to take as a bride. So immodesty is like it's rooted in ancestral worship. It's rooted in black culture, and the objectification of women is also rooted in black culture, and also the greed and the lust of men who feel entitled to women to a point of having 20 concubines and 7 wives. Rooted. So no honor for women, no honor for modesty. When then you recover to South Africa, that culture, you recover jiggling thighs all over, you recover exposed breasts all over, you recover pornographic culture, and so therefore no more bringing down skirts. You recover nonsensical practices. No more bringing down skirts to your knees, and no more humiliating kids for having exposed their underwear while modeling it in front of each other, in front of a boy that caught them doing this thing. None of that anymore, because it's not taboo. It's not taboo. It's no longer taboo. Frankly, my friend and I were super dressed with panties exposed underneath our tunics, because some of these outfits that Tswana girls and Zulu girls wear with the slits in the center are more immodest even than a person walking around with a full t-shirt on and a panty. They're more immodest even than swimwear at the beach, because breasts are out altogether. But no, it's your culture, stuff that you consider taboo. Immodesty is rooted in your religion and in your culture, and it is an affront to God, and also a humiliation of women. It's not a humiliation of women, and also an entitlement. It creates an entitlement in men over women's bodies, and that's exactly what's happening today to me. Women in 2025 and going back in these last days were independent, right? They make their own money, and so they get to choose what they want. And men got frustrated with that, because when you come from a culture that gives you entitlement over women, when then women got their own and they want a different thing, they then start to die. Men got broad in a way that we don't have. They got muscle in a way that we don't have. So then when they get frustrated by our physical strength, not physical but material strength, sorry, they then realize that, listen, I've got one up on you pertaining my physical strength, and so they become violent. They become gender violent, gender-based violence, they kill and they beat us up. And that's exactly what's going on with me today. Men disenfranchised me from a career, and now they want to put me barefoot and pregnant in their damn houses and expect me to just bow down like a Stepford wife, because black culture literally trains men to expect our nudity, expect our capitulation, expect our disregard of God's precept or our modesty, and also expect our disregard for one God only, one name under heaven by which men must be saved, in favor of polytheism, which ancestral worship is, because literally how many ancestors do you have exactly? It expects that of us, it demands it of us, to a point where now those of us who are latching on to Jesus, who is giving us a better life and a better time, who promises us better tidings in the future, we are being threatened with death, we are being martyred. And that's what's happening with me. Restore your barbaric ancient cultures. Do that. Restore, because of your hatred of colonialism or whatever you want to call it, restore your original religion. And so go back to ancient Moab, go back to ancient Amorites, Moabites, Jebusites, Canaanites, whatever they worshipped, Molech, Balaam, and Chemosh, all these random strange gods. When you go back to your old ways, go back then to your old gods. And so therefore go back to old school barbarism, which is super entitled and nobody goes to jail for it. Nobody gets arrested. People be out to chopping people's heads and there is no investigation, no forensics. Nobody's trying to figure out who killed the body in the field. There is no determined pursuit of a bandit. When dead bodies are found in the street, nobody even tries to report it to the police. They just walk right by it. The dead body of a person in ancient civilization is as good as a carrion in the wilderness of an animal. A carcass of an animal. It's not my business. Nobody calls the authorities to therefore get this body identified to see who it belongs to, so a widow can be told your husband is late, and there's also no due process. And so because there was no litigation possible, there was no justice for murder. Of course, eventually we came up with laws. Thank the Lord. And so now people not only insist on recovering bodies, look at what's happening in Israel, pertaining the hostages in Gaza. They are determined for those even who are dead because they want to give them burials. Now there is honor and secrecy to death. Do you understand? In a way that wasn't the case back in the day. People be letting dead bodies out to get eaten away by animals in the wilderness, and nobody is insistent upon, never mind identifying the body, but if you find it in the wilderness, you're not even going to let people know that there is a body in the wild. You're going to walk right by it. That's not a thing anymore. But we're being recovered to that place, where we're being recuperated to it now, are we not? Why? Because we're sinners. It's written in Isaiah 36 that in the tribulation the earth will no more cover her slain. So basically there's going to be dead bodies sprawled on the streets, and now when you've got ancient civilizations recovered to you, you will wish you had stayed civil. You will wish you had stayed righteous. You are going in the tribulation to literally wish with every bone in your body that you had not gone barbaric overnight, that you had not felt entitled to women's bodies. Now that you've been spoiled by coroners collecting dead bodies on the side of the street, now that you've been spoiled by emergency responders at car accident scenes, now that you've been spoiled by medication, and now that you have also been spoiled by identification of bodies that are late, now that you've been spoiled by funerals littered across these streets on a Saturday, in hearses out here expending voluptuous amounts of money on just mere funerals, now that you have been spoiled by a determination to find the person who killed your husband by the law, where people don't rest, nobody properly takes a break until the case is closed, you will remember sweeter days when not only was there forensics, insistence upon identifying bodies, insistence upon reporting a dead body in the wilderness, but also due process for murdered people. You're gonna miss it. You are going to know what indignation feels like when your relative gets killed and there is nobody coming. No police, nobody's dusting for fingerprints, nobody is looking for the bandit. Understand, sometimes you're even going to know who killed your sister, and you're not going to be able to get any justice for it. I told you there's going to be public rape in the tribulation, and even though people saw who raped you, nobody's going to be prepared to stand forward. Plus, the courts are going to be inundated. Nobody is going to have time to be out here giving you justice. You're going to miss those sweeter times, but will you not have brought that time on board? Will you not have insisted on ushering in a barbaric season where, listen, the earth no more covers a slain because nobody cares anymore about human life? You will have desecrated the virtue and the value of human life so much that no more are you going to be able to demand justice for your late husband who got killed by a band of miscreants on the street over a cell phone. No more. But look at how under heaven today you're so comfortable. You operate in a silo. Do you understand, South Africa? Incubator. You're in an incubator like a brand spanking new prim baby. You are operating in the world that is unperused, and it's ethereal. You don't quite get it, you can't grasp it, you can't feel it around because you still can't comprehend jack because your cognition has not developed. You're like a baby. You operate in such a silo that you can't see how intricately woven we all are. You sabotaged your own economy. You don't get to take people like me out from the workplace, the marketplace, and not see shrinkage of all your rice on your FMCG store shelves. You don't get to see tsiles in yourself. You don't get to not see tsiles shopping supermarket in yourselves, in that it doesn't make sense. Why in the world is the country falling apart when there's more than enough people to work its banks, more than enough people to work its corporates, its telcos, more than enough people to fill up its hospitals as nurses and doctors, more than enough people to populate to the point of overflows at universities in first year to study for degrees. When there's more than enough people to go around to essentially be empowered to be bigger and better. But like, universities are empty. Hospitals are populated with sick bodies and not enough doctors and nurses. Corporates have got dumbos. Or there's only one really good person that is burdened by the weight of all the people that are dragging their feet in the company, in the department. Sabotage left to right. You come into a new job and you're busy agitating your colleagues' career prospects altogether with witchcraft. You think you are in a silo. You are an incubated baby that was born premature that can only ever in awe gaze around at the atmosphere, hoping that people are going to feed you until you're old enough to feed yourself. But by then, the earth is no more covering her slain. You've destroyed the country. You've made Cradlestone Mall empty on a Sunday afternoon. You have made sure that Christmas is fedile. When I got the like the Michael Jackson remake. Christmas is fedile. There you go. You've done this to your country. Listen, I was a gem. I am. No, please, can we not use past tense? I am not something dwelling in the history. Right now, presently, I am quite the excellent South African. But listen, I don't care for that status. I was one of your best. Do you understand? I was one of your brightest. I was also one of your most beautiful. I am a combination that is a most voluptuous waste. I'm a waste like Lasizwe is a waste for being gay. That's how wasteful I am. That's how throwing me away is a waste. I was watching an advert, Maybelline, and Lasizwe is out there being featured on it, selling makeup, and he's doing like some funny little thing in all of his eccentricities. All I could see was such a handsome man, but like he's such a girl. I was like, what a waste. What a waste of genes. What a waste of husband. What a waste. Yeah, the way that you're wasting me is the way that a perfectly viable, hot-blooded male is a waste when he makes a decision to be gay. Or when he says that, but I was born gay, whatever, yeah. I am as big a waste as many of the men that you find in the LGBTQ community. A waste. But just like many of the men that you find in the LGBTQIA++ community, there's a whole bunch of people that don't see it as a waste, but as a necessary evil. But this is how it is. But I was born this way. But like, how you gonna be so fly, so handsome, so put together, so intelligent, so able to lead an entire country, and you are gay? How? Yeah. How are you able to go and grab a woman that is so entirely viable, able to raise up children in the admonition of the Lord and contribute to a country, its economy, and all things wonderful? How are you going to go and make sure that she isn't in a hole and unable to come up for air? I'm as big a waste as Lasizwe is to the female community. You don't see it as a waste because you think it's he gets to have his rights as a gay man, until you get to heaven and realize what a waste you were to hang around in these streets as your kissing boys as Georgie Porgy, instead of raising up a family in the admonition of the Lord and leading a nation, leading a country, leading a business, leading a village. But how are you going to lead when you're so effeminate? How? For God gave it to men to lead. You're not a man now, are you? When you're wearing Maybelline makeup, when you are the face of Maybelline, what the heck? You're a man. You should be the face of Hugo Boss, but you're the face of Maybelline. Ugh, what a waste. What a waste. But you won't see that until you finally see it. Many of these homosexuals, they're gonna get born again in the tribulation, and they're gonna realize that they were a waste of manpower. Out here busy walking up and down pride walks, wearing makeup, wearing dependenti with chunky muscles. What are you doing? Yeah, but I mean, by then the earth is no longer covering her slain, and the stench of rigor mortis coming off corpses will make you miss days when you were insistent upon your human rights as a gay guy. Same thing goes for females too. Women at YouTube be out here feeling entitled to little malak, and that's why she's abusing me the same way that men are abusing me. Lesbian, converted from straightness because she so hates men that she became gay. That's this country. You will have tried to kill me. Listen, I'm leaving, but I will have made it. It's a zombie apocalypse. The show The Walking Dead, I liked it very, very much. I adored it. I appreciated it. I gazed upon it with favor, even though it was ghoulish and deathly, because it was my life. It is my life. It ought not be relatable, but for some strange, eerie, ominous reason, it was relatable. The Dead was relatable. What in the world is going on over there? How am I able to consider a show on Netflix that is that dystopian relatable? How? Yeah, it's because I'm living in a zombie apocalypse. One of the statements that is it Rick or Michonne or even Daryl, maybe Maggie, anyway, one of them characters in The Walking Dead says this, and when she said it, I was like, ooh. Yeah, the world belongs to the walkers. We're just living in it. Yeah, one of the lead characters in the show very early on said that the world belongs to the walkers. We're just living in it. The world belongs to dead men that are unredeemable, unregenerate, hate God, satanized, despise his precepts, wants to be carnal, wants to be jaded in crazy ritualistic fever at the expense of civilized society, and those who are trying to bring back normalcy are just living in it. The world belongs to the walkers, the rotters, the zombies. We're just living in it. I was like, yeah, you just hit a bullseye over there. The other day I was lamenting to God, saying, God, I would not have even become so obsessed with essentially the world ending. I would not have been so doomsday if my life didn't look like this. South Africa, you've made my life apocalyptic. You've made me live in some dystopia. Do you understand? To a point where the world belongs to crazy people, and apparently, allegedly, I'm just living in it. The world belongs to crazies, and I'm just living in it. Yeah, just like